Sunrise. Hello everyone, welcome to Sunrise Extra on your Monday. How's everybody doing today?
Doing good.
We are talking about a story that has been viewed a lot and talked about over the weekend, and then today on the Today Show they're going to be talking about it more. So remember from last May the Parkrose High School gun scare, where a student at the school brought a shotgun to class. He was having a mental health crisis, and Friday afternoon the DA's office released surveillance video from several of the hallways in the school that kind of shows this heroic moment by the security officer and football coach Keanon Lowe taking the gun away from the student and then embracing him. I know we have the video of that, if we can kind of play it and show it for you guys, and then we can kind of talk about it. So there's the video, and you see the student kind of going through the hallways, and then Keanon Lowe right there in the middle of your screen kind of embraces him and gets the gun away from him and hands it to somebody else, and then just keeps him kind of in that tight hug.
It's really dramatic. I mean, the gun, you see the gun before you see the student, because he throws the gun away, Keanon Lowe does. Then you see Lowe embracing the student, and then another teacher, it looks like, runs down the hall, picks up the gun and runs away with it to get that gun out of the way of that student. But it really was, I was in, once in a while you disconnect over the weekend, which I did after I left here, and it was Sunday. I was like, let me just check to see what I've missed over the last 48 hours. It was Sunday afternoon, and I went to our app, and I clicked on that. I saw the must-see video, or dramatic video, or whatever it was titled. It got me to click, and I watched it. It was powerful. I'm sitting there now at this point, alone in the driveway in my car, which I decided to check these headlines before I walked in. My wife was, I was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "You got to see this." She gets in the car. We're sitting in the car together, watching that. I was like, "Man, this is crazy." And it was powerful to me because we knew the story, and we knew that Keanon Lowe was rightfully called a hero at the time. We knew that his acts were heroic. I feel like now that it was really downplayed, the way he handled that situation. In my mind, I had envisioned this idea of this football coach, this tough guy.
Throwing him to the ground.
Just coming in and tackling the student, this would-be killer. And I'm thinking, I had disgust for this latest, what I thought was someone who intended to hurt themselves or others in the school. And I never feel, to be honest with you, as much compassion as I now feel for this young person, because you just see them almost kind of melting in Keanon Lowe's arms there. But again, like I said, the way it played out in my head based on how we talked about the story back in May was I thought Keanon Lowe just tackled the student aggressively to the ground and broke up this horrible situation, and good for him, he took down the bad guy. And then you see, no, he basically embraced the bad guy and held him in his arms.
It is one of those things, too. What must have been going through his mind in those split seconds when you're faced with an emergency situation, and in this day and age you don't know exactly what's going to transpire in the minutes that follow or the seconds that follow. And the fact that he looked at this young man with a shotgun and was able to make that connection, take away the weapon, and then have the presence of mind. He certainly was not going to let him go. He had him.
No, you could tell. It was not just a loving hug at times. It was like a grip, like, hey, I've got you.
He had him, and he had him contained. The other thing, as I was watching that video this weekend, and I was kind of like you, I was off on Friday, so I didn't see it when it came out initially, but the national news picked it up, and they deep teased it, as we like to say, and I was like, what is that? So I hopped on our website, and the thing that struck me and just, oh man, just killed me is seeing those kids bolt out of the classrooms or the hallways, wherever they were coming from, just in that sprint that has become a horrific kind of milestone in this day and age.
That's going to be etched in their mind.
Absolutely. Forever. Absolutely.
It was determined that the student here never intended to hurt anyone but himself. And I thought, as I was watching that video, I mean, you're running for your life. There really is nowhere to run. I mean, you're stuck in tight quarters. I'm thinking, if he did intend to kill others that day, he certainly could have and would have. I mean, all those kids running, if he wanted to turn the gun and kill them that day, or some of them, he would have. So that was one of the takeaways, was that he never came to school that day intending to hurt anyone but himself. Perhaps he was going to kill himself in front of others.
He's already been through the legal process.
Right.
He's been sentenced, and then he has been ordered to get mental health counseling.
And Drew talking about the fact that it came out, there was only, the word we used on our news coverage this morning, one round in the weapon.
Correct.
And actually, what does that mean? Does that mean one bullet or one bullet, period?
Shotgun.
One shotgun
so
shell.
just one bullet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just, and you think back to, like all his football training, and I guess isn't that a good way to kind of, I mean, you just keep holding on to somebody, to kind of stop them, and you can see the boy, the student, think it's a hug, and then he goes to release, and Keanon Lowe is still holding him tight, and then finally the kid kind of releases some emotions and really hugs him back again. But it is powerful. You can see the full piece of video on kgw.com. Interesting enough, the principal and I believe the superintendent
I was going to bring this up.
didn't want this video released.
I wasn't sure if you guys had seen or heard
media
that.
to show it. It's everywhere now. I mean, it's on the Today Show because they thought it was going too far into someone's mental state. I argue on the other side of this really gives more, I think, compassion and understanding of this particular situation where a student is going through something, and now you can kind of see, like you were saying, it's not all one way. It's there, some bad guy coming into the school, and you can really see emotions.
So I do think the problem is, where I may disagree with the superintendent, is that this is epidemic. Right? It's not a one-time thing. It's not an isolated incident. It is a personal issue, but it's also a public safety issue. We have many young men, most young men and some young women, who are having these mental health crises. How do we spot it? How do we treat it? How do we avoid it before we get to this point? So anything that calls attention to it, I think, is highly important. And there was a level of compassion with Keanon Lowe that the original reporting missed, at least what I gleaned from it. And I think that's also important. But we have to protect our kids, and we also have to address the epidemic of whatever is spurring all these things to happen. It's a hard conversation, but dear God, we've got to have it.
And then one question for me, and maybe it'll get answered publicly, maybe it won't, but why this young man who's obviously struggling, having difficulties, arms himself with the means we believe to hurt himself and only himself, but why did he choose the school ground to do that?
He probably,
You know what I'm saying?
Now.
Why go through the process of...
Because I don't think that maybe he truly didn't want to take his life. Maybe he was crying out for help. Maybe if I do this, maybe someone will stop me. And thankfully, in his case, someone did stop him.
Yes.
I would think that's why you do that in a public venue versus doing it all by yourself where no one can stop you.
Could be.
Yes.
Laura, we have a lot of people chiming in. So good morning to everyone who's watching us right now on the live streams and the live feeds during Sunrise Extra. Laura, I'm noticing your comment right now. Good morning, Laura Murrow. She says, we have an epidemic, Brenda. That's what you just mentioned a moment ago. We have an epidemic in our teens. The depression is huge. To put our kids raising themselves, we need more people to care and be involved in their lives. A lot of people calling Coach Keanon Lowe what we called him months ago, but now we feel perhaps even more so, a true hero. Very powerful, a hero indeed. Thank him, says Pat Ellis, for saving lives and the life of that young man.
And let's see, I'm not sure how to say this name. Cyverine, I don't know. This young man and his family will need a lot of support to get through this. Yeah, it's rough. If you've ever seen anybody in a mental health free fall, it is heartbreaking, and they're unrecognizable, right? Untreated mental health, depression, many different things. Not everybody with a mental health, I mean, a small number of people with a mental health issue will ever be violent. But even if they're not violent, the personality change that happens when somebody is suffering, they are unrecognizable as the person that you know and love.
Yeah.
And that is also something that we should be talking about as a community and as a society.
But
It
is
is.
rare
Somebody
to
said it's
see-
heartbreaking,
to see
and it
video
is.
like this, you know, and of course, you know, this was a good ending of no one was injured.
Thank God.
And I think that's why it might be important
Yeah.
to show of like, because you do see, and I don't know if we were able to see it in this section of video that we were showing you, but on another angle of surveillance cameras, you can see kids just booking it out of a classroom, grabbing onto a handrail and going
Yeah.
to the nearest exit.
And you know, when I was in school, and I mean, honestly, I'm 57 years old.
Don't look a day over 56.
So I was in high school in the 70s, and if there was a report of a gun in school, my only thought probably would have been, what's that about? But now these kids know. They know, oh my gosh, this could be happening
Yes.
to me at my school, and they do what probably would all do. They run for their lives.
Yeah.
Brian Matthews, our director, brings up a good point, and read into this what you will, but the team not only receiving mental health treatment right now, but also there was talk about substance abuse treatment. So obviously he was going through some substance abuse problems in addition to the mental health crisis.
And the substance
one could lead to the other.
exacerbates
Well,
the
yeah.
mental health.
Yeah.
Self-medicating. Ginny Carlson says supporting mental health should be funded like everything else, not as an extra. Lots of kids are in the state of mind and don't have access to guns, but are desperate, and they're not being addressed.
And that's even
true.
Isn't that the case in corporate America too? I'm trying to remember what our own health insurance is.
What do you mean?
Well, as far as if I need to get mental health, is that
yeah.
are we funded the same way that I would be
Yes.
if I needed to go get my arm fixed because I broke it?
Yes.
We
so
are.
They have medical, and then they have mental health.
But is it
which
as good a
separate-
coverage? Do you know?
Well, I mean, I'm not an insurance expert, but
Well, I want to say I've been for companies and it's there, but it's not as good. Anyway, clearly the point is we need to get to the point. Maybe we are there. I don't think we are, where the mental health options and how you pay for it and how you can get it
Or as
is
comprehensive
level
as,
with
yeah.
physical health issues.
because it is, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Terry is asking, can I see the video? So
Oh, I think
people
we
who are
may have just
joining
played it,
us.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
I mean, you might as well play it again. But yeah, it's if you miss the full thing.
have we only played it one time since we
I
started
just saw it
Sunrise
play a
Extra?
second
Okay.
time. Yeah, we
So
played it a
it's
few
on the stream, which you can actually rewind this thing as it's happening.
Yeah, very true.
So if you want to
Yeah,
go back and
here
take a
it
look
is
at
again.
it. And we're playing it now again?
They're posting it. Yeah, I can see it over
Okay.
there on the monitor. So this is video from back in May at Parkrose High, if you guys are just joining us. And there's that student, Angel Cabrera, who walked into class, and then you see right in the middle of that screen in the green shirt, that's Keanon Lowe. He's got that shotgun and he hands it to somebody else who just does not know what to do with it once he has it, and he almost takes it in the stairwell. Then he tries to decide if he should set it down. No, that's not a good idea. And here are the police as they arrest Angel. And yeah, just, I mean, nobody hurt in this situation, but we are just getting a look at the video now as the DA's office has released it. So
Nina, I'm just
more on
reading a
this.
couple
Oh, yeah,
of
go ahead.
these. Rob St. Helen said mental health and substance abuse goes hand in hand, sadly. And then Ginny weighing in again, last time I tried to get crisis care for a family member, it was a 6-week wait. That's a problem. Haven't we done stories about psychiatry and the lack of doctors that are available
Particularly in the
this
Northwest,
area?
yep.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, so there are not enough.
Yeah. Okay, something else. Keep commenting on this and we'll check back. All week on Sunrise this week, switching to a fun topic, is Blazers Week, because the regular season starts on Wednesday.
Yes.
You're going to be live
Wednesday
Wednesday
morning for our show.
inside the Moda Center. Drew
Yes.
out and
Who are we
about.
playing, by the way, Wednesday? Do we know?
Denver Nuggets.
That was the last game.
Denver
a
Nuggets.
blank
A
there
tough
for a
game
second.
right out of the gate then.
We've
Very
lost
tough game.
both times
right.
preseason games to Denver.
Come on. Why do
Yeah.
you pay so much attention to the preseason?
I'm just saying, we lost to Denver twice. So
you can
it's
lose
not
to
looking
Denver
good.
1,000 times in the preseason.
Well, it's still
Well,
a
Denver's
game.
one of the better teams in the league. Let's just go with it.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough
Blazers
opening
will win Wednesday
game.
night by 15 points.
Well, I hope you're right. I'm just saying it's a tough opening game.
15 points. It's going to be tough for Denver.
Well, it's going to be tough for both teams, yes.
Drew getting all positive at 7:15. This man has been
Maybe I come across
grouchy,
as a positive
prickly,
Blazers fan. I'm really just being negative towards Rod.
spicy guy. Yeah, no kidding.
It's an easy win for the Blazers Wednesday
Anyway,
night.
Brenda,
Okay, good.
you had Terry Porter in the KGW carpool.
I did a while
and
ago, yeah.
He had some.
we're making
fun
it fresh
stuff to
for this
tell you.
week,
So
Brenda.
we're revamping some of the stuff that you haven't seen from Terry Porter's interview.
That's right. Boy, now it was weeks ago. I don't remember everything that he said, but we did talk about the 50th anniversary, and I thought it was interesting because I asked him, do you still keep in touch with some of the guys?
Yeah.
And he said, yes, I do. You know, Clyde Drexler and some of those people, because he said we grew up together.
Right, that team
it's
seemed
like
like a
once
family.
you bond like family, exactly.
Yeah.
You go through all kinds of things starting in your 20s, and they are still friends to this day.
I would think fans of that team, that great late 80s, early 90s Blazers team, it would be depressing to find, like, if Terry Porter said, I haven't talked to Clyde in 15 years.
I know.
I'd be like, what?
How can that be?
Please call him today.
I know,
right?
I just love all the stories that he had about Memorial Coliseum, because you just think of the NBA now. It's like, max
So huge,
contracts,
yeah.
and everybody's got an entourage, and they were just so modest, and they were just thrilled to be there. They didn't need a lot of hoopla. They, originally took commercial jets to their games, and he said nobody ever turned on the heat in the Memorial Coliseum. The guys had literally 2 pairs of sweats and
'Cause the ice
gloves.
was underneath, too,
Exactly,
yeah.
because the Winterhawks played there too, and he was like, "Oh my God, get out there, guys, and go." But
Let me
it
ask you this.
It was funny.
Do you think we'll have a Blazers 100th anniversary season? Because growing up, I never considered the idea of sports going away in this nature. Like, I just thought they'll be here forever.
Right.
But now suddenly, as I get a little older, and there's so many other things that people are doing in their lives, there's so many other outlets and avenues for your entertainment dollar, I sometimes feel like, geez, will this NBA that we know of today still be around and still be popular 50 years from now? I mean, it's lasted this long. Maybe it will last forever.
I mean, if I had to answer one way or not, I would say yes. I'm turning to Jay, who's our behind the camera, who's NBA. He's a big NBA fan. But would you say yes, Jay? NBA is still going strong?
I just wonder if that...
At least in China, right?
He's shaking the camera, yes? Okay, all
Because it
right.
already feels different to me, right? You go to see a Blazers game today in 2019 at the
becoming
Moda
more and more
Center. It
corporate.
feels different than when you saw that group of Blazers
Yeah.
from the Terry Porter years.
It's expensive.
Yeah, it's
You
sadly...
take a family.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
God, how do you afford that?
Yeah, it's
And the
becoming
cheap
more of
seats
an...
are steep and far away.
you have to have
Yeah.
money to go.
But
Yeah.
it is kind of fun
sad.
being there. There is a woman who has been to every Blazer game for the past 16 years.
Okay.
And she kind of rubs elbows with some very famous faces. There's an area that is the courtside seats right next to the visiting bench. There, it's called the Legends section, which I did not know. And she is the gatekeeper. This is Mary Ricks.
Wow.
In the Moda Center, this is where you'll spot the VIPs. It's called the Legends section. And who takes care of them but a Vancouver grandmother with a past working for a newspaper.
I'm nosy, so I usually ask, who they are, especially when they have legend seats. It's like, those are expensive, okay, what do you do, and so people come to me, the security people and some of the others, Mary, can you find out who that is? Because I just go ask them.
Don't mess with Mary, because in her 16 years working this post, she has learned to take nothing from nobody.
I walked down there to see who it was, and it was Scottie Pippen. I walked up and I said, I got to move you. And then I brought in Colin Kaepernick to sit there. Little Wayne came in one night. I knew he was there because he's friends with Damien.
Just the fact that you know who Little Wayne is awesome.
This job started as something to do with her nights after a divorce and retirement from the paper. It's a part-time job, and in her guest services role, Mary can choose to work all kinds of events.
It's everything from concerts to a Disney event to a hockey game.
She knows this building like the back of her hand, and she's been here for its biggest moments.
When we played Houston and Lillard makes the shot.
Lillard for the win.
So I'm facing all the players from the opposing team. I mean, they're all looking that way towards the basket.
Damian Lillard sends Portland to the second round.
It was great for me to see their faces go from, they thought they'd won the game, and then Damian made the thing, and it was just like, I can't contain myself. If they're winning, I'm clapping, and people are high-fiving you, and they just come and grab you and give you a hug. I mean, they're so excited. So, yeah, it's those moments that are, really great. And
With no plans to retire from her retirement gig, through it all, Mary has formed some special friendships, like Sidelines reporter Brooke Olzendam and Washington Post NBA writer Candace Buckner. Then there's the legend.
I listened to Bill Schonely on the radio for years, and now for the last, I don't know how many years, probably 10 years at least, Bill Schonely stands right behind me at the Blazer games, and he just turned 90. And I have seen him, get older, so I don't know how much longer. He doesn't stay the whole game anymore because he just gets tired. But that has been just so much fun to, stand and talk to him. And
So I love her story with Scottie Pippen because she there's way more to that.
Okay, tell
and
us.
So he sat down in the legend seats courtside, and this was for last season's series against the Warriors.
Okay.
And so he was sitting there, and a Nike I think it was a Nike executive came down and said, actually, me and this other person are supposed to sit there. And so the Blazers corporate came down and said, yeah, Mary, you got to move Scottie Pippen out of there. And she was like, all right. So she goes over and she's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Pippen, I'm going to have to move you. And he was like, you're not moving me. And she's like, I'm really sorry. Yes, someone else is sitting here. He's like, who's sitting here? And she's like, I don't know quite yet, but let me show you to your other seat. It's behind the Blazers bench. He's like, well, I don't know where that is. And she's like, it's where you used to sit when you played on the team. Same spot. And so she took him over there, and he's like, I want to know who is sitting in my seat. You come back here and tell me.
He called
who
it my
is.
seat?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she comes back, finds out it's Colin Kaepernick, who was in town with Nike executives before the big marketing campaign with his face after kneeling during the national anthem. And so she seats Colin Kaepernick and this Nike executive front row right next to the media bench. And she went back over to Scottie Pippen and said, Mr. Pippen, it's Colin Kaepernick that's sitting in your seat. And he was like, oh, fine.
I like Mary more after that story, but that does not shine such a nice light on Mr. Pippen, does it?
Well, he wanted front row seats.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you pay for them. I think it's like, a thing with
How
the
can it be
Blazers.
his seat if
They're legend
someone
seats.
else is sitting
Yeah,
there?
it sounds like those seats are ticketed one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
where
well,
that
I
story
think,
sounds.
the bigger name is going to get swapped out.
Oh, I don't know,
So-
but I don't even know if. I mean, I think Scottie Pippen is still a bigger name with the
than
Blazers
Mr.
He's a big name.
Kaepernick.
Colin
yeah.
Kaepernick.
But I mean, at that moment,
Right.
nothing was bigger than
Isn't
Colin
Pippen a Hall of
Kaepernick.
Famer?
Everybody was talking about him.
Let's give a
Pippen's a
shout
Hall
out
of
to
And
one of our
Nike has
viewers.
a lot of
there you
seats
go.
in that section. Go ahead.
One of our viewers, Jeff Lucas, watches every
Jeff.
day on the stream. Jeff is a season ticket holder, he says, with the Blazers, because he says he'll still have his season tickets 50 years from now.
Good.
And,
Excellent.
he also says, Rod, that the Blazers are going to go out to an 8-0 start this season.
I hope they do. All I said was it's a tough first game. Come on.
One of the
Camera
biggest,
Jay
one of the
says
biggest
no.
fans of the Blazers in the room is the guy behind the camera there, Jay Lundenberg, huge Blazers fan. Jeff Lucas, Jay Lundenberg says you're wrong. He does not think.
8-0.
Jay does not think they're going to get out to an 8-0 start.
13 in the first, 18 on the road.
All right, now we're going to dig a little
13
deeper.
of the first 18 on the road. That's
Jeff
tough.
Lucas, Jay is saying that the Blazers play 13 of the first 18 games away from Moda Center. That's a lot of road games to start the
Yeah,
season.
that's
Yeah.
tough. Yeah.
That could be trouble.
Being punished for the great season they had last year. Does the NBA do that like football? You get a. They don't. Okay.
What do we have coming up tomorrow for our Blazers week? Is that the?
Tim Gordon is going to be
okay.
talking about all the great work that the Blazers have done with the community and nonprofits, Boys and Girls Club, so many great charities that those guys have taken part in. And then we have you live on Wednesday, Brenda's Carpool with Terry Porter. So a really fun week ahead for Blazer Week. Going back to our top story of the Keanon Lowe Parkrose video, that is going to be featured on the Today Show at 8:10 this morning if you want to hear kind of more on their analysis for that. For now, that does it for us. We will see you guys on a Tuesday. Bye.
About?
I'm surprised.